3, 2, 1.
What's up, Caleb? How you doing, man?
Dom, it is good to be here. It's good to be here, man. I'm pumped for what's to come, for what we're building, and it's just an honor to have you in here.
Thanks, man. I don't think people really know the significance of this exact moment right now because, one, we're in a new studio.
That's right.
We're in a new studio.
Not that anyone would know.
Yeah, because the background is literally the same. And two, this is our first time doing content since we decided that we were going to start this channel.
Time out. Dude, you look ridiculous with your you freaking, like, every time you move, it's like
All right, well, fine, I'll put it up. This is the Joe Rogan experience. You just keep it flowing.
Keep it flowing, man. All right.
Fine. My headset is officially on my ears, and you're done making fun of me. And I won't make fun of you for all the things that I always make fun of you for. So, so with that being said, this is our first episode that we've recorded together since we decided to start an and asset channel. I bet you people are wondering, because people are going to come from BetterWealth to the and asset.
Right.
I would love for you to explain in your own words why you thought this was actually a good idea to go from the BetterWealth channel to the and asset channel specifically.
I think in a nutshell, I had an identity crisis, and the identity crisis went something like this. I grew up, and BetterWealth was really built around the and asset. And for those of you that don't know what the and asset is, it's a special type of life insurance. Well, it's whole life insurance that's overfunded. We also work high level with some types of IUL as well. But it's like a way of thinking about life insurance. And as BetterWealth, we do other things. We have software, we do coaching, we have an investment company, we're getting into tax. And so I had, like, it's funny because, I felt like as a company, we were almost ashamed of talking a lot about life insurance, but all of our life insurance content did well. Mm-hmm. But then it was all under, like, Caleb Williams BetterWealth, and I'm like, man, I don't necessarily want people to just think like this is all we do. And so after having conversations about it and looking at some of what other people are doing, it's like, man, with all the info that we know, with all the people that we know, with the technology that we're building, with the movie that we're working on, like, we could be the go-to players for everything life insurance. Whether you have questions about IUL, you have questions about whole life, you want to learn about case studies, you want to learn what not to do, you want to hear case studies, like, dude, we could crush it. But I don't want BetterWealth to just be known as, like, oh, BetterWealth does a lot of things, but they're really a life insurance company. No, like, we're actually breaking, like, the and asset is its own company, and I think this is an 8-figure company just in what we talk about as it relates to life insurance, because I feel like life insurance has never been more relevant than it is today, the way that we teach it. Because it's not a get rich quick. It's not this will solve all your problems, including your marriage problems. It's like, no, this is an amazing foundational asset that will improve your financial life. And I think we just articulated better than anybody else.
Let's go.
We practiced that one multiple times.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm kidding.
This is take 743, Caleb. Here we go. Let's try this one more time. No, I like that. I like that response. I like that answer. And for everybody that I'll be speaking with before, you kind of go through the process as you're watching these YouTube videos, and then we'll have an opportunity to speak. I know in the past, the BetterWealth YouTube channel has had a lot of life insurance content, and it's kind of hard to navigate through sometimes because there's, real estate, business, life insurance, taxes, all types of stuff. But now we can go directly to the source. This channel will be the source for everything life insurance, top to bottom. And I'm super excited for that because it's just going to be a complete, what we call the Investopedia of life insurance.
That's right. And people have been asking all the time. And again, we're going to give the people what they want. And we're going to be the one-stop shop for not just consumers, but advisors that want to be a part of this message, help us share the message of the and asset. We're on a audacious mission of insuring 1 million people, and that will happen. And when it does, it's going to be phenomenal to think about the ripple effect that that's going to have on families. And I mean, dude, that's going to be unreal when we see that happen.
You know what I just realized is this actually could be an episode in itself, considering we're already 5 minutes in and we haven't even started the whole reason for starting this episode.
Yeah, I thought this was the episode.
No, this wasn't. I mean, this is a good segue into what I thought it was going to be, but we might as well keep going with it because it's flowing well.
Yep.
So ultimately, the whole intention of this podcast, or excuse me, this YouTube channel for this video specifically, was to interview Caleb Williams, to see the man, the myth, the legend, the one who started it, because it essentially his baby. I mean, it is everything Caleb Williams, the and asset, right? When people think of Caleb Williams, what do they think? They think of the and asset, and he's changed a lot of lives with it, like a ton of lives, and he's a visionary of it. He's a leader. And, you know, I know when I talk with a lot of you, you ask like, hey, who is Caleb? Like, how long has BetterWealth been around for? And now you can ask, how long has the and asset been around for? And get to know a little bit about Caleb himself. Sometimes people call you Cole, or they call you some different names.
I go by a lot of names. Essentially, if you talk at me, I'll turn and listen. Yeah. But no, dude, I'm grateful for this. I've been on a lot of podcasts, but I think very few people have the context of what we're truly doing. And to be interviewed by you, someone who has an even deeper understanding on life insurance than even I do at this point, and it has the vision and is building we're building a business together. It's a lot of fun, and it's a blast, man. So thanks for taking time to do this, and hopefully this gives the listener context on why we're doing what we're doing. And I just want to say thank you for everyone that's watching this, that is has been a part of the BetterWealth journey, or has been a part of the whole life insurance journey. Like, thank you. We need every single person that believes in our message to help us, because this message is coming under attack, because a lot of people don't want to see this get out. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's controversial at all. Like, I just think majority of people, whether they know it or not, there's a lot of friction. And so it does take a lot of courage to put yourself out there, because every video that you do, you get some random person that tells you how you are a horrible human being. And I think once you get over that, you realize, man, for every bad comment, there's a lot of good that can happen. And so we'll see what happens with this channel, but I have a funny feeling it's going to grow fast. Just with seeing some of the content that's going to come out, it's exciting.
Yeah, amazing. So with that being said, a lot of people don't know, but BetterWealth was built in the basement of Papa John's. And it's actually crazy when I hear you speak and you show pictures of like the building, and you see the sign and how humbling it is. Tell me your thoughts of when you started that back then, and I think it was back in 2017, correct?
Yep.
So 2017, did you think today you'd be where you're at now, or do you think you'd be farther ahead, or do you think you'd be farther less than ahead? Or like, did you believe that it would be like the company that it is today? Like, was the vision there, or like, what were your thoughts?
That's a great question. When we started BetterWealth, and I say we because Greg Helema, Dan Kaminsky, we had another intern. Her name's Julie. Shout out to Julie. We started BetterWealth, and I never even made 50K. Okay, so it's not like I made a ton of money working at the bank, and I was just like, hey, like I gotta I gotta make more by starting a business. So it was more so the freedom of being able to speak and truly do what we wanted to do, because I was working at a bank. I had it set, but the problem was I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do. Everything felt like pulling teeth, because it was like they have certain regulations. Like, good for them. Like, they shouldn't have let me just run crazy. Like, they needed to look at everything. They had compliance. A bank can't just start going crazy on the internet. And so I remember I got made fun of. But one of the first videos I did was actually a term insurance video while I was still working at the bank. And I got a golden microphone. Okay, I plugged it into my personal laptop, which is like all kinds of problems that were happening. I was like bringing in my personal equipment because I couldn't do certain things on bank equipment. And so I had the corner office of the bank. I had it shut, and I'm like doing this really cringy now at the time video to send to everyone at the bank so they could cross-refer. Like, anytime someone bought a mortgage or something, I wanted them to send them over to me so I could sell them term insurance, mortgage protection. And I just remember people, it was like the talk of the town, like, oh, Caleb with the golden microphone, because that was just unheard of. It's like, why are you doing what you're doing? Because like, that is unheard of. But in my head, man, I'm like, if people understood what I know, and I know a fraction of what I know today, but if people understood that, there would literally be a line outside the door. This would not be sold. There would be people coming and begging us to say, hey, can you set this stuff up? And so as I started learning more and more the main epiphany is like life insurance is not an investment. It's literally an amazing foundational asset. Like when I started learning that and like getting that and like truly getting it, that's when I had this conviction of like, this has got to get out in the world. And majority of people are bad mouthing investments because they think it's life insurance is better than your investment, which is not. And when I realized that, oh, it's just a better place to store capital, it's a foundational asset, it's going to affect the next generation. That's when I'm like, okay, the only way, knowing what I know now, that is going to get this out is to do something differently. So thank goodness, and I actually was reminded of this earlier, thank goodness I didn't listen to people that I probably should have listened to. I mean, I was 21 years old, look younger than I look now, by the way. And it's like, I've never really done anything. I wasn't necessarily super successful leaving. Like I helped a lot of people, but I didn't make a ton of money. I was living at home. So it's like, why in the world are you doing this? But I saw it a little differently. I saw this situation being like, what do I have to lose? I have nothing to lose. Like literally, if I fail and I'm 21, 22 years old, I could go to work for anyone and it's totally fine. If I had a family and had a mortgage and all this stuff, it would be harder. And so that was a perspective. I had people that believed in the vision that we had, and sometimes ignorance is bliss, man. So knowing where we are now, like I'm super, super grateful. I didn't start BetterWealth with this, like, I'm going to make a ton of money. I just knew like I knew that this was possible. And so the fact that every single week we get many people reaching out to us saying, hey, I want this. If you would have told me that, I would have said that's our goal, but I don't believe that's ever going to happen. And so it is cool. I pinch myself every time I see people coming through, meeting with you or other people on the team. And I know that we're just getting started, man. Yeah. We're literally just getting started.
Dude, it's that's humbling. And I appreciate your humility and sharing that vision.
Yeah.
Dude, to me, it's super exciting just hearing the humbling beginnings of where it was at to where it's at now. And dude, your vision and your inspiration is just incredible, and I'm super thankful to be able to do this with you. And it's fun every single day. We get a grind.
We have a lot of fun, man. We have a lot of fun, and we should definitely share how we met sometime before we end this Joe Rogan Experience style podcast.
Well, you can also hear in your story, right? Just how much you care, right? I think it is what it is today because you literally care. It's not just wasn't about the dollar amount. It wasn't just about like, hey, I'm trying to make a quick buck. One, you wanted to learn, you wanted to help, and you wanted to serve. And you felt like you had something that everybody needed to hear,
right? And
you wanted to share that message. And it's just the same thing with anything, right? It's like add value to as many people as possible, share something you're passionate about, and great things will happen from it.
Right. We had this saying early on. It was scale the unscalable. And at the time, man, I was ignorant towards this industry, and we have conversations like life insurance literally will not solve all your problems. It probably won't even solve all your financial problems. It's a tool. It can be an amazing tool, but I think I've become less cavalier about like, oh, like this is not the solution to all your problems. But I've become even more convicted because now I understand academically how it can like enhance someone's income, which is before I was like, oh, why would you have this? Why would you have stocks? And why would you have a pension? Why would you do an annuity? And now I'm realizing like, oh, I understand why all those, and now I understand why life insurance could enhance that if that's what you want to do. But we had from the very beginning, scale the unscalable. It looks a little bit different now, but nothing's really changed. It's like our conversations at a high level are, how do we continue to grow this thing? Because growing is essentially saying that we're serving more people, but growing at the cost of not serving people well, I mean, you know that eats me alive. We were just talking about a client who will remain nameless, who's been a pain to work with, and it literally eats away at me knowing that this person did not have the experience that I want this person to have. And we talk so it's like we're spending a lot of time on certain people that in business, they would say, why are you spending time with those people? Just fire them or don't have them become clients. And there's maybe some truth to that, but we're like, man, it is in our core value to serve every single person the way that I want my parents served and my family served. And so it's cool, man.
Amazing. With my experience with the earned asset, right, it's actually very funny because when we first met, I was very anti whole life insurance.
Yep.
And your very first client, or I won't say very first, but one of your first clients was Dan Kaminsky, who was now implementer within the company of BetterWealth. And he was actually complete anti-whole life and thought it was the dumbest thing ever when he first saw it as well, just like many other people. I'm curious for you, when you first saw it, did you think the same thing? Same exact thing?
Yeah, so I was working at the bank and I was selling term insurance on my phone. So I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan. You know, I just think like the stock market's amazing. Buy term insurance, invest the difference. I go to this conference, and this conference is all about helping people pay off debt. They pay off, but they're like, pay off debt, use the snowball method, but use life insurance. And the only reason they were using life insurance was to get paid. At least that's what I thought. And so I was like arguing with the person, and finally I got on the phone with the main person, like the guy that like taught the program. I'm like 18 years old, okay? Not even running the investment department at the bank at the time. And I'm just like talking to him, and he just stopped me and he said, "Caleb, you don't understand how life insurance works. You don't value life insurance." And I'm like, "You're right." I literally told him, I'm like, the only reason I think you're selling life insurance is to help people pay off debt and get paid for it. And so he encouraged me to learn, and that I'm grateful for. And so I learned very skeptically, because again, we've all been taught, especially if you're in the money finance, buy term and invest the difference, you're better off burying your money in the ground. And so on that journey, I realized, people, like, the problem I was having with life insurance is I was seeing it as an investment alternative. And if I would still be anti-life insurance if it was an investment alternative. But I remember the day where it just clicked for me. It's like, my money can compound the rest of my life. Like, I'm planning on living a while. That could be 60 or 70 years. And I have the ability to use capital to do whatever I want to do. I see where that could be valuable, especially as someone who I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always thought outside the box. And so it clicked for me, and I was like, okay, we have this savings problem. What if we could just help people save money? That's never going to change. And then they have control to do what they want with that money. And when I got that, I was like, okay, this is interesting to me. And that's why from the very beginning, we've been talking about even before the book was written, an and asset. And like, why was that domain still available? Like, why didn't anyone else write a book on that? It's because, again, people, and still today, talk about life insurance as this amazing asset, as this better than your 401k, and they're trying to beat up other things. And I just think that is a losing formula across the board, because insurance is never supposed to be an investment. And if it is, it probably will always let you down. So just that was like the perspective and the growing, my conviction. And so my conviction for life insurance went up like this. It dropped a little bit, and now it's increasing less from this product is going to solve your life, and more so like, I have a conviction that everyone's financial model is better with life insurance. It looks a little bit different based on your why, your values, like the results that you want. But I do stand by the fact that everyone's financial model in life is better with life insurance, but it wasn't the reason I thought when we first started BetterWealth. Like, the reason I thought everyone should put their money into life insurance and then borrow against it to invest in other things. And then you meet people and you're like, not everyone's an entrepreneur. And that's a good formula for an entrepreneur. But if you're not entrepreneurial, you're not better off taking that advice. And so I hope you hear like the humility and just like, hey, we're like very open to doing the very best thing for people. And I've been wrong. And we're just continuing to learn and continuing to grow, and like, everyone's different. How are they better off for being in our lives? And so we've turned away a lot of people. There's a lot of people that want to do X, Y, and Z, and we're like, you're not going to be better off. We make less to no money telling them that, but they're better off. And in the long run, BetterWealth will be better off because we told them that.
With all that being said, you said you had a conviction of it going way up and then down and then back up again. What were essentially some of the things that you regret doing at the beginning, or the message that you regret sharing at the very beginning of essentially the and asset? Because you can go back to probably some YouTube channels on the BetterWealth channel. There may be some things that you may not be super proud of saying, or conversations you may had. And I've listened to a ton of them that Dan's had plenty of those stories of being on airplanes, being locked into somebody, like, you ain't going nowhere. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about the 401k versus the life insurance, and you going.
Dan's all or nothing. Like, I remember this. I hope Dan watches this because he'll find this hilarious. We were in California visiting a friend, And we were like, we went out that night, and we were at like not a party. It was like, I don't know, it was like a bar area, and there was like this CPA like lady, and Dan was just trying to like just jam down his agenda like of like the philosophy. And it was funny because that's not my style at all. Even from the very beginning, I was never like, this will change your life. I was very strategic about it. And I just remember him like getting really red and like him like starting to talk more and more. And then he just turns to me and he's like, hey, Caleb, can you help me out? And I just went over, and like 2 minutes later, she's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And Dan was like, what? But the question and just, so you're saying like, what do I regret?
Yeah.
It's really simple. I put too much of an emphasis on product and less of an emphasis on the it factor. I would always say you are your greatest asset, but I didn't always mean that. And I really do believe like if you're not fixed, if you don't have clarity in what you want, if you can't articulate your results, no product will help you. Like literally no product will help you. And so I emphasized early on that life insurance was like the end all be all. And while I would tell you and factor in other things, I would emphasize more the life. It wasn't a proper scale. And so now I would say it's way more. I think it just is at a point where we don't need any client. And it is like when you're first starting, every single dollar matters. And I'm so grateful for the people that took a chance on us early on. Now we're in a place where it's like, yeah, we want to do well, don't get me wrong, but it's like we're not gonna do something that's not right. We're definitely not gonna be put in that situation. Now that we have a company, we have a lot more to lose. And I don't know if that sounds wrong, but it's like early on, I was a little bit more naive, and we just like it was just all in on like this is what we're doing. Now that we're doing some of the, we have some of the partnerships that we have, it's like, man, like one person, like we got to make sure that we're even more conservative, because we might be doing the right thing for somebody, but if they don't get it and they don't understand it, you could argue that we're really not doing the right thing. I don't think a lot of people are articulating this as it relates to just anything financially. And I want that to be the message, regardless of what your money philosophy is. We have to factor in the human being and how they're going to use it and the results they're going to get from whatever they do with their time and money.
And then on the flip side, then some of the best clients that we even have to this day, and also that were contributing large premiums. I know a couple that were essentially funded BetterWealth to start off.
Yeah, thank you.
Were people that you had brief conversations with. It wasn't like you had like this massive relationship with, but it was just like, hey, talk to them for 10, 15 minutes. And then they're like, yeah, I get this. I want to know more and move forward type of deal. What was those like just a minute or so of like, I won't say the pitch, but like, what was it that you're telling people at that time? Cause like now you're not so much like out there shaking hands, kissing babies like that. But at that time, like obviously people could feel your passion, your excitement. And so like, what was it that you were saying for people to really feel that?
Here's a question. Have you ever been on an initial meeting with me?
I think, yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We'll have to talk about names after. I would ask you because I just, number one, from the very beginning, I did not want to sell. I didn't want to chase people down. So if you look at one of the first things that we did was we made videos, I started a podcast, and I wrote a book. Those were three things very strategic, because I would much rather say, hey, Dom, read this book, and if you want to learn more about the strategy, I'll help you. Like very early on, I understood how to create leverage, how to create authority. Like I wanted people to be like, yeah, I'm working with Caleb, not, oh, Caleb sold me something. So we would always like, while the meetings were quick, usually there was education somehow. So it would either go like, if someone didn't have any clue, I would tell them the presentation, and that wouldn't be 15 minutes. That would be like 45 minutes. And it would essentially be the classic, I drew a stick figure. I love this. And I would just get really clear on like, you have to be like, why are you doing what you're doing? And I would talk about ROR, return on result, get crystal clear on like, what do you actually want? Then I would draw a dollar sign. I would say the next step is we need to audit our cash flow, our assets, our debts, where our money's going. And we just have to ask ourselves, is our dollars actually getting us the result that we want? And then, so after we did the audit, then we would figure out the better way. And in a lot of cases, my pitch would say life insurance the and asset could enhance what you actually want, whether it's part of your portfolio or for entrepreneurs is a place to store capital. And then I would show them how they could use the and asset to accomplish their goals in faster or better wealth, So that was the idea. But I just think one thing that I'm gifted with is like I love people, and like when I would get on, I would just be genuinely interested in them. And I never intentionally did something that wasn't like, looking back, there's a couple of people that I wish I would have done things a little differently, but I've never, ever, ever intentionally did something that was like not right for the client. And I think people, even when I was 19 working at the bank, I'm like, this kid might not know a ton, but he will go to bat for me and do whatever it takes to help me. And I hope that anybody that has had the opportunity to work with me directly or work with our team, like they get that feeling, because we've tried to be that authentic through the whole time. I don't know if that answers your question, but like going back to memory lane, those are the kind of conversations we would have. That's good.
That's good. When I'm meeting with people and I'm having conversations with people, people ask me all the time. They're like, hey, the person that I'm meeting with, the person that's educating me, is the person that I'm taking advice from. I want to know like what they have. I want to know their policy, how they're using it, are using it. Like what does yours look like? And so I tell them how I use it. A lot of mine's for crypto or for real estate. And my policy is with Mass Mutual. And I have a convertible term policy with Penn Mutual. And when I start another policy, I'm going to start a new whole life policy with Penn Mutual. And I'm going to have multiple policies. Like we have mentors who have 30 plus policies. So I'm curious for you, like I kind of know this already, but I know a lot of people wonder and ask this question all the time. They're like, hey, like what is Caleb, like how does Caleb use the and asset, or does he have an and asset? What does that look like? Like what's your journey with the and asset specifically? Like obviously you've been in the industry now for quite some time, so you have a very unique story with the and asset. So what is yours like personally?
I'm not going to name names in companies, but when I first heard about this life insurance, I was like, okay, I got to live, like if I'm going to learn more about this, the best way that you learn is to start a policy. So the first insurance company that I actually went to shadow, I wouldn't necessarily recommend anyone work with them today, but I'm grateful that they existed. I'm grateful that they believed in me. I'm grateful that they helped me. And I started a $400 a month whole life insurance policy, a 60-40 split. And that's what I did. I still fund it to this day. And it's one of those things where the time I used it that was the most memorable is when I went to Guatemala. And it was so cool, man, because it's like I am a big fan of getting people to go on missions trips and going and serving. Like if you're ever feeling anxious or depressed, like go serve somebody, and you're that's like the best medicine for just perspective. So true. And I remember going to Guatemala, and I used the policy to do that. And like I would be the first one to say I did not make money doing this trip, right? My dollars kept compounding, but I had to pay interest for that use of capital. But I remember being on the plane and thinking, I get it. Like I'm saving money. I'm saving $400 a month at 18 years old. I'm able to go to Guatemala, and I have a strategy that's allowing my money to compound over my lifetime. Like it was just like it was like that's really cool. And then as a company, as we started making more money, I got term insurance, and then I ultimately converted that term insurance and with a different company and put six figures, $100,000 premium, which was funny because I had to like give a really, really good argument why this insurance company should even insure me. Like I'm worth a lot of money dead, right? And I wasn't like on paper that like it was because I personally made a video for the insurance company explaining why I wanted this, explaining how I was going to pay for it, explaining all this, that they were like, okay, we're going to let this 21-year-old kid or 21-year-old kid put six figures a year into life insurance. And the policy has not broken even to date. That's one thing that's like, okay, would we design it a little bit differently now? Maybe. What I want people to know is like, I'm so grateful that I have like 6 figures plus and growing each year of capital that right now is just a war chest. I'm not actively borrowing against it. It's literally a war chest to make sure that BetterWealth will continue to go on, because I don't want anything to get in the way for us to not continue to build a team. And so, in full transparency, it's there. I call it my opportunity fund. I've used that phrase and learned that phrase from Kim Butler, and I'm waiting for opportunities. But right now, the best opportunity is to create an emergency fund for BetterWealth and for what we're building. And I'm so grateful that's in. And every year, man, it's at the point where every dollar I put in, it increases by more money. And so it's like, man, how amazing is that?
That's so good. Yeah, with the And Asset, the whole vision and mission of the company is to help people to show up more.
Make sure you're speaking in the mic.
To show up more powerfully in his life. Show up more powerfully in their life.
There you go.
Boom. See, the problem with this is I had a YouTube commenter, YouTube commenter, say that I had my mic like this, and then I couldn't essentially see my lips, and they couldn't essentially.
Right. It's one of those things. We'll work. Help this guy out in the chat comments.
I'm doing my best.
You just got to speak into the microphone.
To put it down so you can see my lips still, and still talking to it at the same time. Work with me. Technology is not necessarily the strongest suit. You can see that I eat a lot of food, and that's where I spend all my time.
Food and gym.
Yeah, food and gym. It's actually a really funny story. Is my wife and I. It was just her birthday, and I haven't sent her flowers to her work since she's been at this place. So I sent her flowers on her birthday, which was Friday of just actually last week. And on the card, we had this funny joke where we say the word exactly, which is just like, oh, like if you want to say exactly. And then we say gym all the time. Like we use another guy and we use the word gym. The gym is essentially like me going to the gym. So I essentially have like 2 alter egos. It's like exactly because I'm always trying to be right. And then the gym because I spend all my time at the gym. So I sent her flowers. And then on the flowers, I was like, hey, I love you so much. I hope you have an amazing day. These are from Zachary and Jim. And I spelled Jim, Jym. And when the flowers first came in, she was like, those aren't for Dom. And then when she read it, she like knew exactly who it was from.
That's
and
awesome, man.
And stuff. But anyways, I forgot exactly what I was saying. Oh yeah, what the mission was of the And Asset Company. It's to help people to show up more powerfully in their life.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what Caleb is doing with his policy today. He show up extremely powerful within the company, within the And Asset Company. He can show up powerfully every single day and share his mission, vision, and share his story because he's not afraid of the company essentially folding. Like, the company's doing obviously great when it comes to just revenue, profit, et cetera. Right. But let's just say things were to hit the ceiling and hit the fan. Ultimately, he has his policy that he could tap into if needed to, which allows him to have more peace, have more serenity, and to think better. And obviously, as a visionary and as CEO of a company, you have to be able to think and show up powerfully and clearly. So for every business owner that has an And Asset, they can do that knowing that they have something that they can tap into if needed. If cash flow is ever suffering or they need to hire somebody and expand, you have that essentially peace of mind fund for your business to do so. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing.
100%. And if I could transfer anything to business owners, to entrepreneurs especially, it's like, it's okay to not have all your money earning for you. Like, it's just like you have to have the end in mind. And I remember this was like 4 years ago. I heard this podcast, and there was someone interviewing one of the wealthiest venture capital fund. I really don't remember who it was, but he made this point of like, I think people would be better off having their money at zero for most of their life and taking a few calculated risks that could be life-changing versus like always having their money tied up in and get average returns. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just like, that's more my thesis of like, I'm not going to lock up my money for 8% or 12%. Like, amazing. Trust me, I love compound interest and all that stuff. I'm going to like hold on, be a better entrepreneur. And like, if I'm going to use capital, you better believe it's going to have a big impact on the world, and I'm going to make a lot more than 12%.
Yep.
So that's just the philosophy I have.
No, that philosophy is exactly mine as well. And I tell people this all the time. I tell people, hey, there's a difference between the middle class and there's a difference between the wealthy. And they operate differently. They think differently, operate differently. The middle class is what they do is they take their dollars and they're always investing it all the time. 100% of the time, they're always investing it. They're dollar cost averaging into things like the market. And then they never really essentially have liquidity. But what the wealthy do is they sit on capital and they sit on cash, have the control, have that fund waiting for something massive to happen, life-changing to happen, like 2008 to happen, right? Into the massive market crashes happen that you could take advantage into real estate, your business, or into essentially you could do the market as well. And you can see people like Warren Buffett, they do that all the time, sit on billions of dollars of cash. And then when he sees a business that's on discount, he'll essentially use that cash to deploy into his business and to buy that business. And people I talk to all the time, like, the biggest wealth transfer and the most money I've ever made in my entire life was in 2008. All I did is I had a ton of cash sitting around, and then all I did was short sell a bunch of properties, and then I bought them all. And then essentially those properties went up in value 5 years later. Before I knew it, I had millions of dollars of equity in home. Then I could essentially refinance those and do that again. And that's the difference in just mindset of not being afraid to having control of capital and to just sit and wait. Because what people feel like a lot of the times is, because we talk about lost opportunity cost, talk about lost opportunity cost all the time. What people are afraid of is they're afraid of them missing out on that lost opportunity cost, what my dollar should be doing for me. Well, the beautiful part about the and asset is now you can do both. Is you don't miss out on the lost opportunity costs. You can put your dollars into something where you can compounding, and you still have the liquidity to be able to take advantage when opportunities come.
Well, subscribe to the channel. You'll definitely get this video. But I have this chart that I just made recently. It's like, okay, assuming your policy over your lifetime earns 3.5%, which you and I both know, like, okay, that's a conservative statement. That's a conservative statement. Okay, so you only earn 3.5%. What does everyone say? Oh, that's horrible, kind of deal. Like I agree. Like if we're talking about investments, I'm the first one in line. Like that's not a good investment. But compared to what? Compared to a savings account, show me something that's earning 3.5% long term in savings. Okay, and then if it was savings, what's the tax advantages there? So then when you start factoring taxes and you factor in like actual fees and things, like now you're looking at a range for anywhere from, depending on your tax bracket, 5% to 8%. And again, that's not too shabby when you're starting to think about controlling capital and having your money long-term be active. And that's only looking at one factor of a multi-dimensional asset. And we're talking like an asset that will enhance other parts in your life, including your legacy. And so, yeah, man, like I've grown more convicted because it's like, even if someone's not going to utilize their policy for the compound effect and they're just going to have a greater death, not greater death benefit or greater retirement value because of having whole life or an IUL that's properly structured, I love it. And I love the benefits and riders that are also included that we don't talk about at all, and we will start. But it's like, man, it's amazing. It's just incredible.
Yeah, no, that's true. You couldn't have said that any better. But with that being said, dude, we could literally talk shop about this stuff and interviewing you all day long.
You know what I want to do?
What do you want to do?
I think we should have a weekly show that we just talk.
I think that'd be great.
Because I actually think people would listen to this, especially if it had the and asset theme. Because yeah, man, like this is a lot of fun, and I think we could talk about issues and it could literally be another podcast. So again, I don't know who this is going to go out to, but comment below if you want us to start a podcast that's on YouTube. Let us know, because this is not planned. Like we have a lot of educational videos. We're going to have reactionary videos. We're potentially going to buy like a smart board and be able to show you different numbers, and that's all going to be great. I think there's value in just being able to articulate and talk about how we think, because it just doesn't come out in a regular video like it can come out in a podcast.
Yeah, and this is literally the exact same format of that guy I showed you, Andrew Huberman, where he's like literally just speaking educationally about health and fitness and how to be better optimized and all that. And
we're just going to work on how you speak into the microphone.
Yeah, that's it. If I can get that down, I think we'll be good 100%.
The goal is the bar set high, man.
Yeah. So let's do that. Let's just say, hey, we're going to do a show once a week. And then on top of that, we'll create some, educational content that's specific to life insurance and asset, because obviously we want you to be as equipped as possible and as knowledgeable as possible when you're making a decision moving forward. And then this will essentially be the end of the show because it's 40 minutes long. Maybe making 40 minutes to an hour of a show would be good, but I know we have some more content to create, and you have a call here pretty soon, so we probably should to hop off and do some.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, a lot of fun.